Board of Trustees of Venus ISD on January 13th, 2025 at 6 p.m. And we do have a quorum. If everyone would please stand for the invocation and pledge. Greg, do you mind leading us in the invocation? Night. And then Rosie, do we have anybody sign up? Okay. So we'll go to item number 5, recognitions and campus reports. Dr. Torres.
Okay. Well, we would like to recognize some special folks here. January is School Board Appreciation Month, and so board members, you've got a lot of goodies here that have been here delivered here from the campuses and different folks from across the district. And so I would like to officially read a proclamation here recognizing our board. So I'll go ahead and start with that. Whereas the mission of public schools is to meet the educational needs of all of our students and empower them to become competent, productive members and do what's best for students. Whereas the local school board members are elected by their community members to do what's best. The local board members work closely with educational professionals, community members to create an educational vision and environment for our students. And whereas local school board members help ensure the structure that provides a solid foundation for a school system. And whereas the local board members are strong advocates for public education and help communicate the needs of the school district to the public and the expectations. So now therefore I, Patrick Torres, Superintendent of Venus ISD, declare appreciation to our members of Venus ISD on January 2025 as School Board Appreciation Month here in Venus ISD. I encourage all citizens and community members to join me in recognizing the dedication, the hard work, commitment of our local school board members and working with them to mold an education system that meets the needs not only of today's learners but of tomorrow's students' future. So thank you and we appreciate all you guys do.
Thank you, and thank you for all of our stuff. We really appreciate all of our gifts. Thank you very much. And now, presentations of the campus reports.
All right, welcome. I hope y'all enjoy your treats. My TSA kids, because we had those snow days, aren't finished with what they're doing. So y'all will get some more in February. My TSA kids and my Honor Society kids were not ready. So January, board report, not a whole lot because we haven't had a whole lot of time since last time. We had our band winter concert. We had our choir winter concert. We had a bunch of students participate in all-region band, honor band. TSA kids are already starting. We have mock regionals on our campus on the 31st of January. If anyone is interested in judging, we would love to have help with that. It's on a Friday. Still have lots of kids coming for after-school tutoring, and that is about all that has gone on. So some upcoming things, like I said, TSA, that's coming up. We'll do our mock regional, and then they'll compete in Mesquite. We are hosting UIL That's coming up in February. A little bit nervous, haven't done that, so that's a big undertaking for us. And we have 8th grade has the high school coming to start doing course selections and talk about what the high school offers. And so that's coming up in January also. All right, of the month, folks. Who do we have first? Okay, first of the month was Miss Jerry Cox. She teaches reading for us and is our Taffy sponsor. And so Miss Cox has been selected as Teacher of the Month in January. She has diligently worked with the Taffy students on their projects. She took 15 to competition. 8 of those 15 advanced to the next level, which is state. And she continues to dedicate herself to her students every day to ensure her students are successful. She is truly changing lives of our students. She, like I said, she does reading. This is her 2nd year doing Taffy. And so that's still kind of new for her. My next one is my Student of the Month. It's Nico Hernandez. It's funny because when we went in the room, Dr. Torres said, Student of the Month in here. And he was like, oh, I know it's you. I know it. And it was really him. So he was super surprised. So great kid all the time. Attends tutoring sessions, works to improve his grades, play sports. He's just that all-around kid, that bulldog that you want every kid to be. Our support staff of the month, there's not a picture because she was out that day. She had broken her tooth and had to have dental surgery, is Miss Grubbs. And Miss Grubbs has been with us for more years than I know. And just the sweetest thing, and will do anything for anybody. She loves these kiddos. We see a kid that doesn't have a coat, the next day, magically, there's a coat in my office. And I know where it came from, even though she will try to not take the credit. So she is always positive, works with our life skills kiddos, but really works with every kid and makes sure that everybody has what they need to be successful. And that is it for us. Thank you. I just messed the whole order up, I'm sorry.
We went out of order. Good afternoon. We're going to start with our personnel, and the Teacher of the Month also is the Taffy teacher at the high school. It's Ms. Bartula with her positive attitude, and she's just infectious with the way she deals with not only the kiddos, but with the staff. The other thing is there's a lot of those kids that are in there that have started off in there because they wanted in the education classes, and I've got a lot of them that do interviews to different teachers. They really do want to pursue their education and become teachers. So I think between the high school and the middle school, hopefully we'll get some of you grow your own, and we'll keep those kiddos there. They'll be back in the classroom as teachers. So Ms. Bartula. Our staff member of the month is Ms. Roberts, and we all know she has great commitment, her attitude, and her genuine care for others, whether it's in the library or outside in the community. When she interacts, it's just an overwhelming sense of security that she, I guess, bestows on people, and that's with kids and with her library as well. But she's never afraid to take on an extra project. If you need something done, she'll help you do it. Okay, our student of the month is Miguel Mascoro, and from day one, Miguel has demonstrated excellent in every aspect of his work. He comes prepared, he's eager to learn, and he participates. And in his group, it's hard to him not to take over. I'll put it that way. He is eager to help. He knows the answers, and he's learning to help others learn. I guess the best way of putting it. So we're proud of him, and his enthusiasm and his dedication day in and day out is a good role model for our Bulldogs. Our first event was esports, and esports video games are played in a highly competitive context. And I learned that last year as I went with the team at the state level in Arlington. And the team last year, we have a student there this year in the engineering program in UTA, and he's trying to earn a spot on the esports team there. We hosted a tournament, a Smash Brothers tournament, and he came back and interacted and was the narrator for our esports tournament. I think one of the best things that have come out of this is that Dr. Morgan's commitment here has given this group of kids a sense of belonging. And that's what you want. You want them all to belong, and enjoy that high school experience. So kudos to Dr. Morgan. On the next slide or the next picture, you have basketball, and it is in full swing. And if you've not come out to see a game, both the boys and girls are pretty competitive. I've specifically chose that picture because I've never known what it is to be above the rim, sir. So I just wanted that picture there. Okay. The girls soccer team. The girls soccer team is very competitive again this year. They went to Bay City over the break and they brought home a trophy. And when the Coach Ward and the goalkeeper came to me, the girl goalkeeper handed it to me, and she said, "You need to make room because this is the first one. There's more to come." So they seem to be ready to go. Okay. I know I mentioned this last time, but I'm going to reiterate again. Mentors Care. We have 36 students participating, and we have 7 more students waiting to be assigned a mentor. And as soon as we have someone signed up, the community has really responded. We have 7 kids waiting for a mentor. 5 of them, 5 mentors are being trained. So it's just a continual process. I have a monthly meeting with the supervisor there, and what we've learned, what she's shown me, is once they're in the program, their grades and their attendance comes up. There again, it's a sense of belonging. Someone cares about them, someone different to interact with them. So I'm very pleased with that program and what it's done for our kids. And I'd like to publicly say thank you to Mr. Gatewood, because Mr. Gatewood makes the track over there, and he's also a mentor. So that's great. PD Day, last Monday we were in PD, and we're at the point now where we are focusing on appropriate rigor and active student engagement. And I put that in because I think the needle's headed in the right way, because if you go down to the next bit, okay, our December retesting is over, and we received the scores, and they're pretty good for retesting. We had 56% of the kids in algebra passed it, 89% of the kids that took the biology passed it, and 73% of the history passed as well, and that's the retakers. Some of those kids have taken the test 2-3 times. And for English, we're at 30%, and that tells us that in English, we need to work on writing, as Dr. Morgan has been saying. It's the writing section that's the hang-up. Our upcoming events, we have a powerlifting meet Thursday, starts at 4:30, so I'm excited about that. And on the 30th, we do have an 8th grade parent night for CTE Expo, where the 8th graders and their parents will come over, and we'll have all our CTE set up, and they can kind of look at the programs and ask questions. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I am filling in for Mrs. Ortiz, so I'll just read what she has here. We're excited to begin the new year and continue learning, growing, and all the fun adventures that we have at Venus Primary School. We wrapped up last semester with holiday parties, and it's always fun to have those because the kids and the parents come together and they just love being there and celebrating in the classroom with their teachers. This semester, our teachers will continue to collaborate during PLC time using their data analysis to drive instruction and enhance student achievement. So for our Teacher of the Month, we have Miss Shulock. She demonstrates exceptional dedication and determination to ensure that her student success. She always ensures her students' success. Miss Shulock is a true team player, readily sharing her ideas and offering assistance wherever needed. Having her back in the classroom has been nothing but positive for Venus Primary School. And just to add, it really is so great to see her in the classroom. How much she pours into her kids and how much she cares is just so heartwarming to see. for our staff member of the month, Miss Kuros. She has brought a fresh perspective and enthusiasm to the art program, captivating students with engaging lessons and building strong connections with them. Her consistent presence and support during car and lunch duty further demonstrates her dedication to Venus Primary. We are incredibly fortunate to have her on our team. Our student of the month is Levi Barbosa. He's a first grade student with Miss Thomas's class, and he's very deserving of the Student of the Month award. Levi is such an enthusiastic learner and willing to try new things. He always has a smile on his face, never hesitates to help a friend, and his kind-hearted nature shines bright all the time. And definitely that smile is always on his face, and he's so adorable and cute. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, on to the elementary. So there wasn't a whole lot because we only had a couple weeks of school before our next board report was due, but we are holding right at 677 for enrollment. We have our AVID visits coming up, CN walks at the end of the month. Third grade's going to Casa Manana, a third grade music program, and a second grade program. I had mentioned last month PTO did a snowflake contest to raise some extra money for the Christmas store, and these 4 wonderful teachers all got lots of snowflakes, so they dressed up as an elf for the day. So we had second grade Mrs. Williams, third grade Mrs. Ariano, fourth grade Mrs. Messmer, and fifth grade Mrs. Lee. Kids absolutely loved it. You would have thought we'd given them money. They just were so excited about having an elf teach their classes for the day. Fourth grades also had their music program since we were here last. It's hard to see them in that little picture, but fourth grade is all there. And then the January of the month winners. Our teacher of the month is Mrs. Rico. Mrs. Rico moved up from second grade up to fourth grade science and social studies this year. She has done an amazing job doing lots of hands-on activities and centers in her room, or stations in her room with science and social studies, and was super shocked, I think, when they walked in with that. She was not expecting it at all, but she does a fabulous job. And Miss Royston, our special ed one of our special ed teachers, was teacher of the month. She has done so much for our campus and cares about our kids so much and does whatever she needs to do, even if it's change a schedule 14 times to make sure every child has every minute that they need and they're getting everything that they need to be successful. She's amazing at that and doesn't get flustered at all, so she just keeps trucking along. Wonderful special ed teacher for our campus. And our student of the month is Jack Cadigan, and he could not be here this evening, but he is an amazing fourth grader. He's very respectful, hardworking. He's a great friend. He's always helpful. He has a positive attitude. He goes right along with our pause that we work on every day of the week, every day we're at school. And he is a great example of a VES bulldog. And he is just beaming from ear to ear. Always has a smile on his face. And Venus Elementary has put together a video for you guys with our kids, because that's what it's all about. And that's why you do the work that you do, is for our kids. So Mrs. Gonzalez is going to play the video for you.
We'll go to item 6, presentation by Hankins, Eastep, Deaton, Ton, and Sy, and consider approval of annual financial audit. Mr. Carl Deaton.
And thank you for turning that on. All right, you should have in front of you a bound copy of the audited financial statements for this last fiscal year ending August 31st. And I want to hit the highlights with you and then see if you have any questions about them. So as always, in the beginning of the report is the independent auditor's report letter, which first of all reminds you that these are not our financial statements, they are your financial statements. You've simply engaged us to perform auditing procedures on them in order to express an opinion as to whether they present fairly the financial position of the district, and the report letter is what's called an unmodified or a clean opinion. So after that is a narrative leading up to the financial statements. If you turn to page 21, that's where I want to begin. By far the biggest fund of the district is the general fund. It's one of the 3 funds you're required to budget for. That left column on page 21 shows the actual revenues and expenditures of the general fund for this last fiscal year. And you can see that there were $27 million of revenue, a little over $27 million of expenditures. Bottom line, very little change in fund balance last year. A $19,000 decrease in fund balance down to an ending total of $11.9 million. And if you divide that 11.9 into the 27 million of expenditures, that equates to about 5.3 months worth of last year's expenditures that you have as a reserve in fund balance at the end of the year. The TEA currently says you need to keep a minimum of 2. We as auditors always are pretty consistent in saying you need to keep a minimum of 3 months in fund balance. So you do have a relatively healthy general fund balance at August 31st. Now, if you turn back a page to page 19, where the asset and liability side of the general fund is reported, at the bottom of that left column, you'll see that a couple things have been carved out of the 11.9 million, one of which is you adopted an initial 24-25 projected budget deficit this year, or in other words, you initially projected to use $356,000 of fund balance this year to balance the 24-25 budget. I've got to carve that out as what's called assigned fund balance. So the remaining portion, which is called unassigned, is still $11.5 million, which is 5.2 months rather than 5.3 months worth of last year's spending. So either way you look at it, if you were to have this kind of deficit actually this year, the fund balance would not drop very much at all in terms of months of reserve. Okay, if you go back to page 72, that's where you'll see the other remaining funds of the district. Beginning on page 72, there's about another, let's see, 4, 8, 12, there's another 18 of them on these 4 pages. On page 72 in particular is the Fund 240, the child nutrition or the food service program. This time last year, Tina had over 3 months worth of reserves in her fund balance in the child nutrition fund, and 3 months a year ago was the maximum you could have. And so her assignment this year was to spend money to get that down. That's what the state requires. And so you see a $54,000 loss on page 72 this year, primarily because of a bunch of equipment that she bought to replace older equipment to try to get that fund balance down. Since last year, the state has raised the 3-month maximum to 6 months worth of spending as a maximum. And so that won't be an issue moving forward. Tina is right at 3 months worth of spending in the reserves in that fund at August 31st, but there's not going to be the pressure to spend money there to get it down because the reserve that you can keep is basically doubled to 6 months worth of what you normally spend. On page 73, you'll see three funds that are labeled ESSER. Thankfully, the ESSER spending has come to an end. I've dealt with that for 4 years or so now, and the headaches that come with that, but that is the final spending in those funds. The rest of the funds on these pages are the special ed programs, the various title programs that you get federal funds for. On page 74, kind of a catch-all fund is that Fund 429. The state is starting to dole out funds for specific purposes, specific grants, such as for school safety and security, for dyslexia, for school safety standards, things like that. There is more than one grant that's in that Fund 429, but you see $550,000 spent there, or funds received, that things were able to be paid for out of those funds. And on page 75, you'll see the third fund that you're required to budget for, the debt service fund. The debt service fund, you follow that to the bottom. While you see an $800,000 decrease in its fund balance, the reason for that is one number above that. You used last year almost $2 million of reserves to defease or pay off one of your older bond series, because your reserves had built up in that fund to a level you could afford to do that. Because even after doing that this last year, you still have $1.3 million worth of fund balance reserves and debt service, which is more than 6 months of what you spent on normal debt service payments last year. And of course, the fund balance, the reserves in this fund, can only be spent on debt service. And so it's either, when it builds up, it's either make prepayments or take advantage to lower your tax rate if you want to. But to pay off bonds early like you did, obviously, is going to save you interest in the future, and I think was a wise thing to do. All right, page 78 and 79 is the schedule that shows the property tax levy and collection activity last year, and kind of a summary of what happened here on page 79. That left column, you came into last year with $619,000 of delinquent taxes owed to the district. Ended the year on the right column with $682,000. So it did increase some. That last line across the page, the 2024 line, you levied almost $8 million. You collected about 96.5% of that last year, which is kind of a average collection rate. Wasn't outstanding, but you've got tax attorneys that work on collecting the rest. And then at the very back of the report is what's called the federal awards section. There's a couple more independent auditors report letters that would disclose if there had been any issues that compliance issues we ran across in doing compliance work on some of these funds or in looking at internal controls, and there's nothing we disclosed in those reports as problems. But it all leads up to page 91. Page 91 is the required schedule that's going to list every federal grant that the district received this last year and what it spent in those particular grants. So again, you'll see a lot of the funds we looked at on those 4 pages. Those will show up for the most part here. The title programs, the special ed, the ESSER, the food service at the bottom. But bottom line, a total of $4.6 million of additional federal dollars the district was able to get their hands on. That money spent with these funds is just dollars that the general fund doesn't have to spend in order to provide those services. And then on page 92, the last page of the report, to me of note pointing out is that next to the last bullet, the district was able to pull out $239,000 of what are called indirect costs out of those federal grants, which basically is money that you can reimburse or transfer over to the general fund to help pay for the costs that you incur in managing those federal grants and making sure you comply with all the various compliance requirements. So that money helps out the general fund balance. All right, and there's just a couple more things I want to point out. I think I will continue to do this as long as interest rates stay high. On page 54, just to point out to you, in the middle of all of the note disclosures, on page 54 toward the top, there's a table of local revenues, and the second line, investment income. You'll see that in total, the district earned $860,000 on its various cash and investment balances this last year. At August 31, you had $13.5 million of cash in all of your funds total. You divide 860 into 13.5 million, that's 6%. That's a 6% plus return that you made, which means as far as the makeup of your investments, you're doing a good job keeping most of your money in those investment pools, like TexPool that had good interest rates last year, rather than keeping those funds just in your bank account where they either earn nothing or they earn very little. So it sounds like rates still might be staying high for a little while. So that interest helps out all of your funds. It helps out, you can tell, $600,000 almost of that was earned in the general fund, a couple of $100,000 in the debt service fund, and even some in the food service special revenue fund. So that goes back to good management of your cash by the district. And then last but not least, I want to point out on page 17 and 18, what's called the government-wide or the consolidated financial statement. Everything we just got through looking at are basically all of the fund financial statements, and that's the way you budget to spend dollars. That's the way you track dollars. But for the audit report, I'm required to come in and combine all of that along with all of your hard assets, your land, building, vehicles, and so on, and all of your long-term debt into one financial statement. And so page 17 is a combined asset and liability statement, and that bottom number on page 17 is basically assets minus liabilities, or net equity or net worth under this calculation. And you can see it's over $23 million, which is really healthy for a district your size. Page 18 will tell you that that balance really didn't change much from a year ago. Page 18 is the consolidated income statement, or consolidated revenues and expenses for the year for all of your activities, and it was $23.4 million the year before. So very little change there. So overall, as far as the numbers look, it's really a very good looking financial statement, and I appreciated everything Deanne and Lanny did for me and with me to help get this balanced out and to you this month. Since Deanne hadn't been here very long, it took her a while to get in the swing of things as far as helping to get some things cleaned up for last year, but it got done. So, because the deadline's coming up in a couple weeks to get this into the TEA. So if you have any questions, be happy to try to answer them.
Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. Okay, no questions?
Very pleased.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for letting me off easy.
And then do we have a motion to approve the annual financial audit?
I'll make a motion to approve the annual financial audit presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Amber and a second by Kirby. All in favor? Motion carries. We'll go to item number 7, executive session at 6:36 p.m. for 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, and 551.0821. We'll go to item number 8, reconvene from executive session at 8:09 PM. We'll go to item number 9, consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda for, last month's meeting.
A motion was made by Amber,
I'll second it.
second by Greg. All in favor? Motion carries. Number 10, consider approval of amendment to extend superintendent's contract.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to extend superintendent's contract as,
A motion by Amber. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kirby. All in favor? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Got item number 11, consider approval of Hellas as a contractor to replace synthetic turf at Building Stadium. Mr. Gatewood?
Good evening. I'd like to make a proposal, a recommended proposal to contract with Hellas Construction to replace the turf at Bulldog Stadium for the price of $728,502. I did invite Chase Richardson from Hellas to answer any technical questions that you may have. Are there any questions, guys, for Mr. Richardson?
Yeah, I do have one.
Yes, sir.
On the product itself, the turf, the underlayment, the shock pad, all that stuff, what type of warranty is there on this product, and what type of like years of wear? You know, what's the expected longevity of these?
Okay, so on the turf is an 8-year warranty.
Okay.
It's kind of an industry standard. And then on the shock pad underneath, it's 15-year warranty.
Okay.
So when they replace that turf onto that shock pad, they'll address any issues, you know, in your 10 to 11-year replacement span and replace those portions of the shock pad. So you get 2 life cycles out of the shock pad. We're averaging, on the new Helix turf, we're averaging 11 and a half years.
Now, what are the, as far as the warranty goes on it, you know, and this is my ignorance on this
Okay.
type of product. What is considered a warranty repair, a warranty item on it? You know, I mean, I'm not sure, you know, I know these kids are out there in these cleats and everything else, and then, you know, our community in a whole uses this field quite often
Yep.
for multiple things. Are there things that aren't covered by warranty? You know, I mean, as far as, I mean, I realize that somebody's just out there. With
There are, you know, I've had a school that did a 4th of July fireworks celebration on the turf.
Okay.
That's not, you know, that's not gonna cover it, 'cause they burned holes all in it. But any of your normal wear and tear, any of your seams, any of that issues over that 8-year warranty, that we come out and fix. Either it's me or it's
Okay, and that is something
our
that the
maintenance crew.
company
Yeah, if it's
itself-
less than a foot, I can come out, but if it's more, then we'll send a whole maintenance crew out, and address any of those seam issues, any tears, anything like that. Just under normal wear.
And then last one, I apologize.
That's okay, sir.
Is there,
Please.
No, you're fine.
do you use, in the installation or the repairs going forward, does your company itself do all of the, are there any third party?
No, we don't. So we're the only company that manufactures the turf, installs the turf. We do all the if there was subgrade. There's not on this, it's just remove and replace, but we do all the subgrades. We don't sub out until we get into vertical buildings and stuff like that. So on this project, no.
I do. Also, in this price, does it include any type of maintenance plan? I know that's probably no, but have we gotten it where we're going to put a maintenance plan out for this?
That price does not include one. We can, or you can do it on a yearly basis, where we do have a maintenance program. It's in-house crew. They come, they shut your field down for a year, or for a day, and it's a crew of 5 to 8, walk the entire field, check every seam, check everything. They do what we call a clean sweep on it, which essentially cleans your field. Takes any debris, takes a magnet over it for any like bobby pins, helmet snaps, any of that stuff that gets in the turf. It magnets out of there, so they clean it really good. You can either do it on a yearly basis, or we can do like an 8-year to cover your warranty plan up front.
And how long will it take to get this
from the dates that y'all are talking about, we'd be fine. I mean, 60 days is plenty on a remove and replace.
I have tape around now, but it's on the maintainer. Did we price a maintainer into the deal, or did we
sweeper?
price a sweeper into it?
You priced a sweeper. We have a separate, like, big Zamboni type
Right.
industrial
So
grade.
is the sweeper gonna keep
Yes.
it maintained?
Yes.
Or is it just gonna pick up the? I mean,
It
there
redistributes-
should be a cigarette butt on it, but stuff that sit on top
Yeah,
of
it picks up, and then it also, so you'll have a basket. It'll pick up all the debris that's on it, but
Right.
it also shakes out the infield.
So we'll do a decent amount of maintaining, small
yes,
maintenance.
yes. It just doesn't have the magnet on there.
And is
things
there a
like-
maintenance plan that y'all will give us that we can do ourselves? Like, the expectation to maintain a warranty is maintained on a 2-week basis, every 10 days, 12 days, 20 days? Is there something that we can?
Yeah, after install, they'll do a training deal with whoever needs to be involved with you guys on that sweeper, and then how often, and then how to run it, going against the grain, things like that. So they do a training session with whoever needs to be there.
I mean, but there's not y'all don't recommend a schedule of doing that?
It's tough to do that based on usage, because we have some schools that are just a game field stadium,
Right.
like you guys. Once a week is a good practice to do. Whether
Well, with
it's-
ours, the overuse of ours, we haven't run anything over it in 11 years.
yeah.
So that's
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious as a professional recommendation of it should be done weekly to get 8 to 10 years out of it.
Yes, weekly. Yes.
But it's a sweeper in the price.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. It's a tow behind sweeper.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chase. Thank you, guys.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Hellas as the contractor to replace synthetic turf at the Bulldog Stadium.
Okay, a motion by Amber, second.
I'll second.
Second by Kirby. All in favor? Motion carries. Item number 12, consider approval of interactive display purchase. Mr. Hudson.
Good evening. The agenda item request is to purchase 19 interactive displays. Over the last couple years, we've been working on replacing projectors with what you could think of as a giant television screen that's also interactive. This is the middle school purchasing 18 out of grant funds, and so none of that will be coming from local funds, and the high school purchasing 1, which would come out of local funds. Yes, for this year, the technology department is covering down for 3 of the campuses on their technology, what would otherwise be their technology budget. And then in future years, we plan on trying to get campuses their own technology budget back. So this would normally be something where Mr. Camacho would just be able to go and purchase it himself. Instead, I'm trying to lump it in with a larger purchase to help save them a little bit of money on the shipping.
And is that that's the need, or is that what y'all thought, okay, well, we'll ask for this right now. Is there a bigger need, or is this what the need is?
Overall, there's a much larger need, but right now this is what we're able to afford.
Okay.
At the end of last year, we took care of getting 10 interactive displays with some money that we were able to get together from saving money throughout the year. And so, but at this point in the school year, we wouldn't normally aim for an expense like this, just because there's so much time left in the year for unexpected things to happen. But with this, Ms. Buck has a good amount of grant funds that were set aside for updating classrooms with furniture and technology. And so she was ready to do this purchase, and Mr. Camacho had a need for an additional one. At the end of last year, Mr. Camacho, I believe, bought 20 of the same model interactive displays for the high school, and his goal was to put one in every classroom that was a state tested subject. And based on some teacher moves, he was one short coming into this semester, and so he's just trying to provide equity for that classroom for that single one. So over the long term, I will definitely be coming back to you all with some additional purchases of these, just as we have the resources available, or as grant funds become available to cover that.
We like grant funds.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We like that a lot. Any other questions? No, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 19 interactive display purchases.
Okay, a motion by Amber. Do we have a second? Second by Donald. All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you much.
Go to item 13. We don't have anything for 13, correct? No. No. Go to item number 14, reports.
Yeah, just a couple things. We're, in the second week of 2025, second semester, and, things are in full-fledged. We've got a lot going on this semester across the board on all the campuses. And so, very busy, but, kicking off this second semester. And 2025 has been good, but, we're just going to keep on moving along and get through this semester. Anybody else have anything? Mr. Gatewood, Ms. Page?
Just want to let you guys know, just send a big plug in for Tammy Nelson, Mrs. Nelson at the daycare center. She did something great, and I don't know if you guys know about it. She was awarded the Texas Rising Star Certified daycare that we are now. What that allows us to do is provide subsidized daycare for our teachers and for our students who are teen moms. So we do have a few staff members that do benefit from that. The state did change the rules this past year. We could do that prior, but this year she had to get certified, and she took it upon herself to get certified as a Texas Rising Star Daycare Center. So that is a big kudos to her for doing that.
Item number 15, board requests for additional items. Anybody have any requests for additional items?
Yeah, can we put down to add the survey that we did on the 4-day instruction, just as an agenda item?
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Additional items? Okay, our next meeting is February the 10th, and what time is that one gonna start? 5:30? Okay.
Well, we'll actually start at 6 because we'll do our training. Remember, we're gonna do it at 5:30.
Oh, okay. 6 board meeting, and then 5:30 executive. Okay. Okay. We'll go to item number 16, adjourn at 8:21 p.m.